Hey, good day everybody. Welcome to another episode of Andrew's Life. I am currently driving through the north side of Richmond, Indiana. And on this side of town, you're gonna see that a lot of these houses are older and they're closer in together with smaller lots. Now, I believe the historic district is relatively close to this area. But where I'm at right now is one of the older parts of Richmond, Indiana. If not the oldest part of Richmond, Indiana. I mean, a lot of these houses were built in the late 1800s to the early 1900s. I mean, I would say the vast majority of these houses were built in the 1800s. I mean, neighborhoods like this are the type of neighborhoods that were built up when the industrial era first hit the United States, primarily here in the Midwest. Now, there's a lot of people out here that are looking to move to communities like this where a lot of your houses are older. I mean, as I tried to explain on my Anderson video, on one of my Anderson videos, there's a lot of people moving to these type of communities, buying up these older homes and fixing them up and moving into them. Now, me personally, I like older homes like these. I appreciate them, but you know, since I live by myself, I don't see the logic in buying up a house this big and buying up houses this big and then putting a ton of money into getting them renovated. I just don't see the logic in that for myself, because I live by myself. I mean, me personally, I'd rather purchase something smaller that's much easier and cheaper to upkeep. And I also prefer to have more land and my neighbors to be further apart than what they are around here. But I suppose if you're coming from, let's say, the East Coast, like You're coming from, let's say, the Northeast, where housing prices are insanely expensive, where you're going to pay over $2,000 a month for a hole-in-the-wall apartment in the ghetto, and then you come into a city like this one, and you discover that you can buy one of these houses for, depending on the area, you can buy one of these houses and live in a community like this for less than $100 grand. I mean, people who come from the Northeast are gonna feel as if they done hit the jackpot. I mean, they got this big house, they got a driveway to park their car, they got a yard. As for somebody like myself who was born and raised in the Midwest, I mean, to me, I prefer to have something much smaller, a bigger lot, and be a little further apart from my neighbors. But there's people out here that, as I say, they like living in these type of communities with these nice big older homes. Then I will say that people who built these houses put a lot of thought into them. I mean, these houses were not just thrown up in a matter of days and weeks like a lot of your houses built today are. I mean, these houses, I mean, one of the reasons why these older homes last so much longer and so many people appreciate these older homes over newer houses is because they're built so much better. They have so much more character. The builders who built these houses put a lot more thought into these homes when they were constructing them. I mean, these aren't your new school, contemporary cookie cutter type houses. Now, as y'all can see, or maybe, I mean, you might be able to see, I mean, you know, some of these houses are well kept, and some of these houses need some tender loving care. And like I told you on one of my Anderson videos, if you buy one of these type of houses to renovate, I would say on average, plan to have at least $60,000 of cash money saved up. And that 60,000, and this is on the low end, but that 60,000 will also include the purchase of the house itself. if you buy a house that's bigger, then I would say plan to spend a total of at least $100,000 on one of these houses. I mean, some of these houses are so big and they need so much work that it's going to run you about $100 grand just to renovate it. So you might be able to buy the house for maybe 20 grand, but then you're going to have to soak another 80 to 100 in the renovations. So just keep that in mind as you look at these older homes. Which is one of the reasons why I prefer a smaller and slightly, I mean, the house ain't gotta be newer, but I do prefer smaller. I gotta say, this city just got some awfully long traffic lights. I mean, the last time I was in a city that had traffic lights this long was when I was in Alabama. I guess we're going to be going through downtown a little bit because I got turned around a tad, so my apologies. I guess some of you that have already watched my downtown video, you'll get to see downtown once again, depending on which order I put my videos. Okay, now we're back in business. We're back on the north end of town. As y'all can probably see right about now, this is the more fluent part of Richmond, Indiana right here. This is the more fluent part of Richmond. I'll stay driving around here for a minute or two. Now, as y'all can see, this particular part of Richmond is very well kept. I mean, this is all still North Richmond. And I just want to take a quick drive through this part of Richmond, just to prove that at the end of the day, it's primarily about one's mentality in terms of how the community in general is kept up. See, when you got a group of people who have a certain mentality that live in one location, like in this community, you can look around and tell that the vast majority of the people who live around here have a mentality of taking pride in their community, and also exercising good stewardship with their resources, and taking care of their stuff, taking care of their vehicles, taking care of their homes, you know, keeping up with their yards and everything. Now, as you look around in these type of communities, not just here in Richmond, but really in any community like this, all over the United States, you'll find that most people who live like this typically are not going to drive super fancy or expensive cars. I mean, most people who live around here are going to drive everyday vehicles. Like, look at this house. You got a pickup truck and an SUV, both everyday vehicles. Same thing with this house. You got an everyday crossover. It's a Subaru crossover, everyday vehicle. Everyday pickup truck. It's a GMC, I can't pronounce it. It's a GMC pickup truck. It's an everyday vehicle. I mean, you come around here, you're not going to see a whole bunch of super fancy, expensive, exotic vehicles. Like, as I drive through this street, and you look at the vehicles in this community, you're not going to see nothing super fancy or exotic. I mean, like, here's a pickup truck right here. It's an older truck. I mean, that truck is about, I mean, that's a 1980s flatbed. Here's another older pickup truck, Chevy S10. Here's an old, late 90s, early 2000s Honda Civic that I just drove by. Another older truck I just drove by. Now here's a BMW, but it's an older BMW. But yeah, when you drive around a lot of communities like this that are well kept, to where the houses are going for an average of a couple $100,000 or better. You're not gonna see a whole lot of real fancy, pricey vehicles. Most of the vehicles that you see are going to be everyday type vehicles. Vehicles that if you buy them new or newer, you can grab them up for 20-some thousand. You can grab them up for $20-some thousand. That, or you'll see some older luxury vehicles like that Beamer I pointed out that you can grab up for around